Hey guys, Political Junkie 2414 here, and welcome back to my next video. So today we're going to be doing kind of a hypothetical video. Hope you all are having a great day. We're almost in September, the midterms are getting really close, but I thought that today I would be, kind of getting away from the midterms a little bit and talking a little bit more, about the 2020 presidential election, and I'm gonna make kind of a hypothetical prediction. This is like in my what if series. Like if you guys have seen my video of what if Russia was a continent. So I'm gonna be doing like some what if election predictions. And so today we're going to be going over the 2020 presidential election and how I think it would have gone if the COVID-19 pandemic had not affected the United States, at the very least, or if it didn't, happen at all in the world. Because, I think that it certainly did impact Donald Trump's ability to win the election. Let me pull up his approval rating, actually. This is Biden's, so let's go down here. Oh, wait, I just missed it. Here you go. So as you can see, around his approval actually got a lot better after the COVID-19 pandemic hit, which you may say, well, that kind of helped his chances at winning. But you also have to remember that this was the time of quarantine, and I think that a large part of his approval getting a lot better is, he was disapproved of for almost his entire presidency. He was only approved of for like the first 2 weeks of his presidency, and then he never recovered. But he came pretty close in March and April of 2020. But I think a main reason why it is that people weren't really paying attention to politics during quarantine, at least in the early stages. We were all just staying home. We were, online doing school or work. And I think that that kind of impacted some of people's perception of him. But obviously his handling of the coronavirus pandemic got worse, and after the his comments about the police brutality, and just him refused saying he would refuse to accept the results of the 2020 election. That just made him very unpopular, and then of course he was extremely unpopular, by the time of after January 6th. That was, his worst time in office. So, this map is going to look a little bit different from, how 2020 actually ended up. It's kind of a guesstimate for some of these states how much COVID really affected people's, vote for Joe Biden. I think it certainly helped a lot of people. So, yeah, let's get into it. Let's get rocking and rolling. So we're gonna start by filling out the safe states for Joe Biden and the Democrats. I think Oregon would be safe. It voted for him by 16 points. It could be likely, it was Clinton plus 11 in 2016, but that was because of a lot of third party candidates. I think it'd be just over safe. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Delaware would be safe because Biden's from there. New Jersey, I think, would be safe too. Voted for Biden by 16 points. I think it would be somewhere around there too. Yeah, just solid across the board. And he'd have the same amount of safe states that he had in the 2020 election. For Trump, he'd have pretty much the same amount of safe states. He'd have a couple more. I think Kansas, it was very close to being safe in 2020. I don't know how much COVID impacted Kansas, but, definitely did shift some swing voters towards Biden. South Carolina could have been safe. I really don't know. I think I'm going to keep that as likely. Alaska was almost safe in 2016. There was a lot of third party candidates. There was Gary Johnson who got 6% of the vote. So I think that Trump would have carried Alaska by a safe margin in 2016 had it not been for Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. But he only won it by 10 in 2020. I think it would have been still. I think it still would have been likely. So yeah, I'd put Alaska as a likely state, probably around Trump's margin in 2016. For the likely states for Joe Biden, Maine, I think, would have gone back up to likely. Wouldn't have been 9 points. I think it'd be like 5 or 6, maybe 7 points. Yeah, because in 2016, Trump did very well in the state. He almost won it. There's a lot of third party presence in Maine, Clinton won less than a majority of the vote. I think that Biden, would win by around 5 or 6 points. I think New Hampshire would have been likely as well. I thought about it being lean, but the comments Trump made about New Hampshire being, like a hellhole and, a trash can essentially. I think, and New Hampshire hates their incumbents and it voted for Biden by 7 points. So I think that it would have been somewhere around there. I think it would, wouldn't have been as bad, but COVID wasn't too bad in the Northeast because people were taking precautions. So I think New Hampshire would have been like a 5 point margin for Biden. Could have been lean. I don't know. That's a hard call to make. Virginia, I think, would have been likely as well. It was likely in 2016. It wouldn't have been double digits for Biden. I think it would probably have been like 7 or 8 points for Biden. I don't know. It'd be like a Ralph Northam margin. Clinton did better in the state in 2016, mainly because, Trump was not popular in the DC suburbs, like in Fairfax and, Prince William and Loudon. She improved, but that was also because of Tim Kaine's presence on the ballot. But Biden did a lot better, so I think he would have, wouldn't have been too far off from his original margin. Colorado and New Mexico, I don't really see. I think Colorado would have been maybe 10, not 9 or 10 points for Biden. New Mexico, I think that it would have been, around the same point. It didn't really shift that much relative to 2016 and 2020. I think it really wouldn't have mattered that much. Minnesota, I think, also would have been likely about the same as New Hampshire's margin. It did come close to voting for Trump in 2016. It was the closest election result in Minnesota since 1984 when Walter Mondale barely won the state. It was the only state he won against Ronald Reagan. And then since then it's been pretty reliably Democratic. But 2016 was a bit of a scare. Yeah, so I think Minneapolis, their suburbs are shifting to the left. They were shifting to the left back in 2020, so I think that they would have voted for Biden. They would have given Biden a big boost in the state of Minnesota. In Texas, I think that would have been likely as well. I think uh, Trump, not being a traditional Republican, he wouldn't have won it by a safe margin like Romney. I think it would have been somewhere around his 2016 margin. The state was very close in polling. It was not incredibly close in the final result, but it was the closest in quite some time for a Republican in Texas. I think Trump would have won it by, yeah, like 8 or 9 points, like how it was in 2016. Not a big difference there. Um, he's not the most traditionally conservative Republican, so he would have done a little bit worse probably than 2016, but I don't know. In South Carolina, I think that would have been likely as well, probably the same as I think it would have been, somewhere in between 2016 and 2020, 2020's margin. Um, Maine second would have been likely voted for Trump by 7 points in 2020 and 11 points in 2016. So I think, it would have been somewhere around there. Iowa and Ohio, they weren't even all that close in the original election, in the 2020 election. The Iowa moved down 1 point from 2016 towards Biden. Uh, Ohio only shifted like 0.1% to the left. Yeah, exactly. 0.1%. It was very, very small. It was a very, very small shift. And then I guess so. That's it for the likely states. I think for the lean states for Joe Biden, Nevada would have been a lean state. I think Biden, with COVID really depressing Las Vegas turnout, and he still was able to win the state by the same amount as Clinton. It like barely shifted to the right for Trump, but I think it would have been like a 3 point margin for Joe Biden. It would have been close, but I think Biden, because Trump made a play for Nevada in 2020, Biden really, focused on some of the other battleground states because polling in Nevada had him ahead, and Nevada is reliably Democratic most of the time. It's still a swing state for sure. It would have been close. Nevada's not a safe blue state by any means, but it traditionally leans Democratic. And I think Biden would have done, okay. But I thought about it being a 4 point margin, but I think Trump would have done better with Hispanics and Hispanic Latino voters than he did in 2020. So I think that, he would have done okay. Um, What else? I think that's it for all the lean. Nebraska second could have been lean. I think, yeah, I think that would have been lean. It was voted for Biden by 6 points. I think it would have been like a 2 point margin for Biden, maybe 3 points. Voted for Trump in 2016 by 2 points. So I think it would have been somewhere around there. In the state of Georgia, this state could have been tilt. I think that, because Trump won it by 5 points, Stacey Abrams would have definitely helped Biden narrow up the state. It could have been tilt, but I think, COVID really impacted the South, and I think that inspired a lot of, black turnout for Biden. I think, Kamala Harris definitely helped, and, in this hypothetical scenario, Harris would have still been Biden's running mate, but I think Trump would have won the state by like 1 or 2 points. It would have been close, but I don't think it might have been tilts. I don't know. I'm trying to think here. I think it would have been lean. Yeah. In the state of Florida, it was 3 points for Trump in 2020, and the final result, I think it would have been like 3 or 4 points. So not a big difference there. North Carolina, I think, would have been about the same as 2016, whereas 4 points. It might have been a little bit bigger, but I don't know. I think Biden did, pretty well with black turnout. Kamala Harris certainly helped him in the state, but he did underperform the polling. He was supposed to win the state. He ended up not winning it. Um, and then we got the four remaining states. We have Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. These states are going to decide this hypothetical scenario. I think Biden would have won Michigan. Michigan really, COVID-19 ravaged the state of Michigan and the Rust Belt in general. And I think, Trump's margin in 2016 was just so narrow. I don't see how he could have really held on to Michigan realistically. Would have been very close. I think, Biden was certainly helped out, by voters, feeling like the COVID pandemic was not under control. But without COVID-19, I think Biden still would have won Michigan, but it would have been significantly closer. He won it by about 3 points. I think it would be like it'd be like half a percentage point or something, but it would be a lot closer. I don't know. It could have been lean. I'm gonna keep it as tilt. In the state of Wisconsin, I'm debating whether or not to put this as lean Republican or tilt Republican. I think it really, I don't know. I don't think Wisconsin, in the summer of 2020, when, Biden started to really surge in polling, Wisconsin's COVID numbers got really bad. So, oh, sorry. I think that I don't know. I don't know how Wisconsin's margin would have been. I think Biden would have done better with Milwaukee turnout. I'm going to keep it as tilt Republican. I think it would have gotten a slightly smaller margin, but I think that it still would have pulled out for him in the end. In Arizona, I think that this would have been very, very close. It was very close in 2020. Trump's remarks about John McCain really would not have helped him, at all, even without COVID. I think, um, I really don't know if Biden would have won Arizona. I think it really depends. I think, hmm, the Arizona and Pennsylvania are like true toss-ups. This would have decided the election. I think, oh, how would Arizona have gone? I really don't know. It would have been closer, than 2020, than 2016 for sure. Um, I this is hard. This is really hard. I'm trying to debate with myself here where to put Arizona because I think Maricopa County may have gone for Biden anyways, but yeah, because COVID, I'm gonna say tilts to Donald Trump. Uh, the COVID pandemic, wasn't the main reason I think why he lost Arizona, but I think nationwide it really impacted people's negative opinions of him. Obviously there were other issues that, made him very unpopular, but I think, you know, and his rhetoric made him really unpopular, but I think Arizona would have nearly gone to Trump. And then the final state of Pennsylvania, I think that this would have barely gone to Trump. It would have been very, very close. Biden had the Scranton Boy appeal in 2020. I think he would still have that appeal. I really don't know. I really don't know how. Pennsylvania would have gone, but this would have decided the election. If had if Biden wins the state or would have won the state in this hypothetical scenario, would have been tied, a tied electoral college. Then it would have gone to the House of Representatives, and most likely Trump would have won because there's one vote for there's one electoral vote per state or one vote for the president per state. But I'm gonna give it to Trump because I think that I don't know how good Philadelphia's turnout would have been. The absentee ballots, maybe there wouldn't have been quite as many, So I don't know. I think so. Yeah, this is my prediction. Trump in this hypothetical scenario, if COVID had not occurred, he would have won re-election. He would have won 289 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 249. Would have been a very close election. Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin decided this election. But I think that Biden would have narrowly lost in this 2020 scenario. I think that he still very well could have won if COVID had not come his way. But I think that Trump's image was really tarnished by his handling of the pandemic, among other things. And so I really don't know. I mean, Arizona could have gone for Biden, but I really don't know. I'm really unsure about how I might put Arizona for Biden. I don't know. It was very close, so it might not. I'm gonna keep it as tilt for Trump. So yes, this is my final projection. 289 electoral votes for Trump, 249 for Biden. Trump narrowly wins re-election. In this hypothetical scenario. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Share, and like the video. Share it. Turn on notifications so you don't miss another one of my videos. I do want to say that I think I'm gonna wait to put to make my updated Senate election prediction until next week, so that it'll be like I think I'm gonna do it on 2nd, which is next Friday. So September 2nd. Expect so sometime in early September, the first few days of September, expect my next election prediction. I know it'll be I know it'll be 3 weeks from my last one, but I just want to, make it so that, it's not, um, I just want to wait a little bit so that I can do one that's like 2 months out from the election. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out my non-political channel, Interactor127, and my comrade, Growlingzeus666. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things politics. See ya.